Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome to the Wrestling Legion weekly podcast with me, Nick the Geek. And of course, I'm joined by two fantastic boys, two fantastic brains, two fantastic friends. I'm joined by Andy. How are you doing, my friend?
All good, mate. Fabulous introduction. Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
It touched me, that.
Thank you. And I'm joined by, of course, my partner in crime, the ever-present Sai. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm touched as well, mate. Yeah, love is in the air tonight, boys. Really good. Great to be here.
Afternoon,
Hey,
David.
Hello, David. How are you doing, my friend?
PG, just a minute. Hold on. Put that back up again.
Gentleman of PG-13 Sai.
Which one do I look like? Like Wolfie D or the other one?
I like it.
Right, anyway, on we go. This week we've got a fair bit to talk about, boys. Nothing major in the news except for one real stickler with the three of us, which we will get to in a second.
Oh, yes.
Right, but I've just got to give a quick shout out to the boys over at Wrestle Talk. They hit me up on something the other day that I wasn't aware of that happened, which was the Ring of Honor TV tapings. Now, I'm really happy about this Ring of Honor. I know the TV show is only on Honor Club at the moment. It's not technically got a TV deal, but I'm really glad to see that Ring of Honor's actually getting a chance to go up. So what do you think the future for this show has if it's just on Honor Club? Do you think they need that TV deal, or do you think Honor Club's going to be enough to see it through and at least help bring the brand back?
I think it's totally enough. I mean, Ring of Honor has always had a niche fan base. I said maybe 6 months ago on a certain other channel that we were on that why not put it on YouTube and charge fans like $5-6 a month? It makes sense. They're making a little bit of money to pay for the production and, a little bit on top, and they're providing weekly content. And isn't that what we all want to see as Ring of Honor fans? It's been okay this last year having shows every few months, but that consistency you're going to get, it's make or break time. I'm a little bit trepidatious, but I'm also excited to see the product next week.
That's good. So am I. Andy, I don't know if you were ever the biggest Ring of Honor fan back in the day.
Yes, I was.
You were, right. So I'm assuming you're excited like we are to see the show back.
Yes, very much so. And I also want to say that, first of all, sorry, let me just get this up here. So, in a week where Muta retires AW, you run with his Dave bought by Tony, Lord. Yes, I did, David, and it was me who picked that out, so don't blame the lads. And the reason I did is because, as we will discuss in a minute, if you've seen the Wrestling Observer Awards, I am asking that question. And also, my friend, hook is a hook. But back to what you're saying there, I will give Tony Khan some praise on this one. I feel like if he wasn't going to go on to TBS or onto one of the TNTs or anything like that, then he was probably going to get a little bit of kind of lowballs on the offer for the product. So by putting it on the streaming service at first, he can see how it's doing. He doesn't have a network to, we've known some things where, like the likes what happened with the Briscoes and stuff, where the executives were getting involved and didn't want this to happen or that to happen. Because let's face it, Tony's not in a good point to negotiate these deals at the moment because, they give him a brand new platform and everything. So, the Turner broadcasters, he's got to, he's got to facilitate what they want. So, I think it's a good move putting it on its own program so he can actually do the product as he wants to, and in its raw fashion. And then hopefully, as time goes on, people will come in and see that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. For me, I like the fact that it's on Honor Club. Like, I still subscribe to the WWE Network, even though it doesn't have Raw and SmackDown on every week. If it had Raw and SmackDown on every week, I'd actually pay a hell of a lot more attention to it. The fact that Honor Club has going to have this Ring of Honor show, I'm probably going to subscribe because it's the only way we get to do it. And also, it means I get to watch it at a reasonable hour as opposed to stupid o'clock in the morning because it'll be on the subscription service. But you mentioned Mark Briscoe, Andy, saying the fact was that obviously he's had a lot of difficulties with the comments. God bless him. God rest his soul. The comments his brother Jay made a decade ago. And now finally he's been allowed back on TV. He's all elite. He's got a contract. And by the looks of it, from what I know of the Ring of Honor TV tapings the other night, which we'll get to now, Mark Briscoe has said it is his destiny to become Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. Now, the three of us are going to be lucky enough to be at Supercard of Honor this year. Yeah, it's going to be good. What do you boys think about a Mark Briscoe Claudio title match at Supercard of Honor?
Is it too soon after Jay's passing, which we're all upset about? Is it too soon to be honest about this and say, I didn't like it when Rey Mysterio was pushed after Eddie's death because of Eddie's death, and I don't like Mark Briscoe being pushed on the same sentimental reasons. I'll probably get a lot of hate for that, but as a one-off match, honoring the career of Jay, no problem. But we've had that. We had it on Dynamite. It's awkward because what do you do with him? He's got a tag title. He still wants to wrestle. He still wants to make a living, but he's only spent like a year or two as a singles wrestler. It's not what I want to see, to be honest.
That's fair enough.
No.
Andy?
I agree with Si on this. I feel like it's a bit too soon. But then also, I'll admit, I've got a bit of conflicting with this because it's either going to be too soon or they're going to miss the boat with it. It could be one or the other. And
what I meant, mate, was is it too soon to criticize this booking? Because I don't mean any offense to anybody in criticizing it, but I've got to say how I feel about it, which is I don't think it's done for the right reasons.
I feel like, me personally, I think it depends how these TV tapings go and what we see on Dynamite, because the one thing that we need to see is we need to see some adversity and reasons why he's going after the title with Claudio. Yeah. And I think he's probably in a bit of a bad spot at the fact that Claudio's the champion, because if it was somebody else who was a bit of an ass, then it would probably be a lot easier to deal with that.
Well, I was going to get to that. By the looks of it, we might not have to see Claudio versus Mark Briscoe at Final Battle. Because at the end of the TV tapings,
spoilers.
Eddie Kingston came out to challenge Cesaro. Cesaro has said that the Ring of Honor title will never be his because it shall never be on the waist of a man who has no honor. And Eddie says he doesn't care. He hates Claudio and he wants.
I actually thought that storyline had been dropped after Blood and Guts. Mm-hmm. But to me, going back to that makes a lot more sense than having Mark challenge.
Well, everyone knows there's a history with Claudio and there's a history with Eddie Kingston. They do not like each other in real life. They never have liked each other in real life, and that tends to make for very good bedfellows in professional wrestling. It's a match that I would be happy to see. Just to give my opinion on the whole Mark thing, I actually agree with Simon. Can't believe I'm doing that. I never do, but I actually agree with you, Si. I was not a fan when Ray was pushed. It was for a slightly different reason than you. It was because it should have been Chavo.
Should have been Chavo. Thank you.
Right. It should have been Chavo Guerrero, not Rey Mysterio.
Not Chavo getting the push, but Chavo getting that particular storyline as a push.
The moment.
Yes. Chavo should have got the moment, not Eddie.
Yeah.
Not Ray for Eddie. But I am not a fan of using real life tragedy to promote somebody in professional wrestling. I think it's in poor taste.
I think, do you know what? I think it is. Sorry to cut you off there, Nick. I think it is, unless it's done correctly. If you look at the whole Rey Mysterio thing, it wasn't done correctly. It wasn't at all. Where this one has got the potential to be done really classy and really well. Even things like I'd love to see his daughters or his wife be involved somewhere along the line, and you know what I mean. Even if it's just a vignette or whatever. And obviously, now that they've lost the husband and the father, give them a little bit of income to the households and whatnot as well. You know what I mean. So if they've done it all correctly like that, I'd really like to see that story unfold. But I just don't want this to be, he's the brother left here, let's give him the title. We got to see a storyline with it properly.
No, I'll agree with you on that one. Like it needs to be poignant. It needs to mean something.
Yeah.
But other moving on to something else on the Ring of Honor TV tapings, I do want to say is it looks like the relationship between Tony Khan and New Japan Pro Wrestling is alive and well. As Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Blake Christian to defend the IWGP. Sorry, Simon, to defend the IWGP Ring of Honor IWGP Television Championship. Apparently, this was a fantastic match, a technical match, a fast match. What you expect from Zack Sabre Jr.
It's also groundbreaking.
Go on.
It's a record because it's the first time that a television championship has been defended in a non-televised event.
That's a good point. And it was not the only television championship on the line. Samoa Joe defended the Ring of Honor TV title against Tony Deppen. Now, also, Mascara Dorada was on this show. Billy Starks was on this show.
Hey, sorry to cut in there, but we've got the first time here. Here's Tidy.
Hello, Tidy. Good to see you. Welcome to the Legion. This, by all accounts, I'll just quickly run through the card. At least,
please, no more. For the love of sight, please, no more spoilers.
No more. Right, there will be no more spoilers. I'll just run through the card for you guys. So we opened up with Mark Briscoe versus Jay Slim. Then we had the Kingdom versus the Infantry. I have no idea who the Infantry are. Then it was Zach versus Blake Christian. Christopher Daniels versus Rohit Raju. Josh Woods versus Takeshita. The Embassy versus LSJ, Joe Keys and Roy Lawkins. David versus Mascara Dorada. Ari Davari, versus Mascara Dorada. Blind as a bat. This is very small. Samoa Joe versus Tony Deppen. Dalton Castle and the Boys versus CJ Marcus Carrying Cross. Odd name, but okay. Rush Delistico versus Angelico and Serpentico. Billy Starks versus Trisha Dora. Ari Davari versus Slim J versus Jake Chris versus Manaska. Jake Manning. Wheeler Yuta versus Timothy Thatcher.
That'll be good.
Aussie Open versus Tracy Williams and Brett Titus. Eddie Kingston versus Ben Dijo. And Athena versus Willow Nightingale. Now, that is a lot of tapings. A lot of matches. So I'm under the assumption this was at least for 2 weeks of TV.
Well, I read they've taped for 2 weeks television, but like you say, there's like 20 matches. And that's one of my worries. You know, I hate to come out here with a negative. You know what I'm like? But if there's going to be 10 matches on each show, on each 2-hour show, essentially it's like Dark's format. And I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be like that. But then on the positive side, Ring of Honor weekly television, which ended like a year ago, was only an hour a week. So getting 2 is good.
This is very true.
Yeah.
Right, but anyway, we're going to move on from Ring of Honor.
Sorry, just one more thing, Nick. Where did they film it?
I have absolutely no idea, I'm afraid.
It was in Florida. Yeah, because they're essentially trying to do with AEW and Ring of Honor like WWE are with NXT. So it's based in Florida. Fort Lauderdale sticks in my head for some reason. I might be wrong.
Honestly, I haven't got a clue, lads. I didn't even think to check.
No, it doesn't even tell you.
But yeah, I think that premieres on, is it Thursday?
Yes.
Should be good.
Yeah.
Yes. And just to say all good luck to the boys at Ring of Honor. Tony Khan doesn't need the money, but I'm sure a lot of those wrestlers could do with a steady paycheck every week. And just one last thing I want to mention, because on the mat has been talking to me about this show. And he mentioned the fact that there are an awful lot of GCW talents on this show. And guys that are GCW regulars that are on this show. And to go on to segue into our next subject, Brett Lauderdale has done a fantastic, unbelievable job as a promoter in the past 12 to 18 months. He has taken his little tiny rinky-dink hardcore federation to being the modern day version of ECW, where it is effectively the king of the indies. It is the place that all the indie wrestlers want to work. That's what it's become. And a lot of guys like the Briscoes work in GCW. Right? Mm-hmm. There are some big names that go in there and they work for that company. And I just think we need to acknowledge the fact that Brett Lauderdale may have been totally robbed by Dave Meltzer this year. because we're going to move on to a subject that I know you two have got a lot to say about. We're going to move on to the top of the week, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving on to the Wrestling Observer Awards for 2022, even though it is 2023.
So that's the first thing, isn't it? I mean, we've got the Oscars coming up and the Golden Globes and all these things. They're the 2023 ones. So why are we calling this year's Wrestling Awards the 2022 ones? Make it make sense.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, David. Brilliant. Good to know. So it was held in the Avalanche in Orlando, Florida, in the Air Universal Arena.
Yeah, okay. It's the Universal soundstage, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very, very WCW of him.
Which is the same Universal soundstage that they use for Dark. TNA used to use it.
Yes. Soundstage
21.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you very much, David. But yes, on to the subject of the week, boys. On to the Wrestling Observer Awards 2022. Now, I'll start with the one that I've just been talking about, because it helps me segue to something I know Andy is quite irritated with this year, which is the fact that Tony Khan not only won Booker of the Year, which is questionable, but he also won Promoter of the Year. When this man can't handle chaos in his own company, like Brawl Out and the CM Punk Elite situation that should never have happened, because if he'd been a proper boss, he'd have immediately followed CM Punk off that stage and calmed things down before it escalated anyway. Different point. I do not understand why Tony Khan's been given Promoter of the Year. I already gave the world a better option there. Brett Lauderdale, I believe. Andy, you're the first person who brought up Brett's name.
Yeah. I think just to make this clear, though, Brett shouldn't have won Booker of the Year, but he should have won Promoter of the Year. Because I think GCW's grew a lot, and from a promotional aspect, I think he's done an absolute stand-up job. I know Beyond the Mat, we were talking on the thing the other day, on the WhatsApp, and he was saying, like that, how much it's grown a lot, and it has. And sorry, give me a sec, guys. I'll just tell you exactly how many shows, because Matt put it on there, how many shows they done last year.
He's great with all these stats.
Yeah, he is.
Right, but let me just get this now, because right, 98 pay-per-views they done in 2022.
Yeah, 98.
So
he was gutted they didn't make it to 100.
Yeah.
I wish they did. That would have been imagine if they'd done 100 shows in 1 year.
I know. It's fantastic, though, isn't it? Really is fantastic.
And I watch a lot of the shows with Beyond the Mat, and their audience has grown in leaps and bounds. Their live audience, they've gone from drawing 50 to 100 people a show in 2016 to drawing 2,000 to 3,000 people per show, per event. Yeah. And they are crazy fans. They are just as rabid as the ECW fans were back in the day. It's a fantastic product, and everyone should go check it out. Yeah. Back to the Wrestling Observer Awards.
Yeah. But sorry, just 1 second there, David. So I know you're saying he did put Forbidden Door together. He helped, but he did help. And that's the key there, David. He helped. He didn't put it together all by himself like he got the credit for. And kept the second promotion going at the same time with some top notch. He did stuff, yeah, mate, he really did. But do you think he was promoted of the year, really? Or do you think AEW went any further forward in 2022 than what he did in 21?
No. And I think that's the point that we've all we're going to try and make here, is Promoter of the Year should be given to somebody who grows their promotion the most and has the most success as a promotion in that year. AEW has gone nowhere. It's exactly where it was 12 months ago. If not fallen off a bit, it's only just started to break 1 million fans and TV ratings again on a weekly basis.
And one thing I'll say is I'm not trying to hate here on Tony, by the way. That's not what I'm trying to do, but it's just a fact of, like, I don't believe he should have got that. I'm not Triple H shouldn't have got it, or anything else that goes with that. Do you know what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to be a fanboy or nothing here, but I don't believe Tony should. I think fair is fair, and he shouldn't have got that this year.
No, I completely agree. Like I say, I Just 1 second, Si. I absolutely love AEW, just to put it across. I watch it every single week. I'm a huge fan of all of the talent and the wrestlers that work there, and I love the style they present. It's a good alternative to WWE. But as a promotion, in my opinion, they've not grown. No. And so he doesn't deserve it. Si, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, we're talking about Tony Khan winning the Promoter of the Year, which, yeah, we can disagree with. But for me, the standout was Booker of the Year. I mean, how many times do I say that I feel TK books his shows upside down? Quite often opens with the main event, has the main event as the opener, and then he'll have the main event with what should have been the opening. He kind of books from the bottom guys up instead of from the top guys down. He books too far ahead. There's not enough organic booking. And that, to me, is all things that add up to not being Booker of the Year. I'd give it to Scott D'Amore, personally.
It's another good shout.
I just don't... Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things
I'd probably say, though, with Scott, I'd say Booker of the Year 100%, but Promoter of the Year, again, I wouldn't give him Promoter of the Year. And just to go on what David's saying here, he won by default in 2022 based on the amount of people that see the promotion. WWE was split from Vince and Paul. Paul's been lacking in certain areas too. None are perfect. 100% agree with you, David. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that Hunter should have won it. He shouldn't have. That's not the thingy, but by factors, I personally do not believe he should have won that.
For me, the Booker of the Year should have been Gato from New Japan, because he has booked gold in terrible, terrible times. New Japan has gone through hell since the pandemic. The fans are only just allowed to make noise again now, and only in certain parts of Japan. He has booked gold with Will Ospreay, with LIJ, with Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada, Jay White. Everything with the Bullet Club this year. Tama Tonga has been pushed through the roof. He has been given broken glass and turned it into a stained glass window. That man has booked his way out of hell and has managed to keep his show thoroughly entertaining with no noise for over 3 years now. And that should have been recognized. And for some reason, even though Dave is obsessed with New Japan Pro Wrestling, he never gives Gato Booker of the Year.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so some of the other stuff on here. Where's television show Raw? Do we agree with that?
Let me have a think. Well, honestly, it can't be Dynamite. God's honest truth, Dynamite is usually a solid 2 hours of wrestling. It's entertaining. The storylines aren't necessarily told in the most cohesive way these days, but Dynamite is usually a good, solid show. SmackDown, I watch every single week, and in my opinion, is the best wrestling show on television every week. SmackDown is always, it's got the hottest storyline in wrestling on it, which is done fantastically. It's given loads of attention at the moment. It has been for the past 10 months. I'm not saying it was before then, but certainly for the last 10 months, SmackDown's been the best TV show for entertainment-wise from professional wrestling for me every week. Andy, what do you think? Just to reverse the question, what do you think was the best?
I believe SmackDown was this year. I thought Dynamite was last year. And I think Dave's very clever in the way he says, where's television show? Because I think if it was where's wrestling show, then Dark would be head and shoulders the winner.
I would completely agree with that. Yes, because Dark is nothing but squash matches and squash matches and squash matches. That's about it. Si, your opinions on worst TV show of the year. Should it have been Monday Night Raw? Should it have been something else?
Absolutely not. I mean, I can name like a dozen shows that are worse than Raw.
Please
the thing with Raw, okay, I'm going to have a rant now, okay? The thing with Raw, I watch it on a Tuesday morning and I skip through the adverts and I skip through lots of the replays and I get through it in about an hour and 25 minutes. And like that, it's perfectly watchable. You always get 1 or 2 matches every week that go 12 to 15 minutes. You get some good in-ring work. You get some good stories with a little bit of crap kind of thrown in. Now, if it was like that, I don't think it would get half as many people hating on it. It's the fact that it's on for 3 hours and people haven't got the patience to sit through that many adverts live. That is the problem with the show. And if you take that kind of clothing label off it, I think it'd fare a lot better. Certainly wasn't the worst show for me. I've seen quite a few bad Rampages. I've seen quite a few bad episodes of Fusion, as much as I love MLW. And to put Raw in that, I think it's just anti-WWE fans hating on it to be cool.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I do. I think if it's the main shows which people potentially watch a lot more, I probably would say Raw was the worst out there. All Rampage, Raw or Rampage would probably be one or the. If I was going to pick, let's go for the two biggest promotions, and if I was going to pick a worst show out of for each one, I'd say Raw and Rampage were the worst.
I'm going to counter both of you because it was Impact, guys. Now, I don't look at the worst TV show from a worst wrestling show aspect. It's worst television show. That means television product. That comes down to production. That comes down to counter.
I'm not even going to talk about NXT because I'll be here for 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think the reason NXT doesn't get my worst one is because it's short. That's the only thing.
But here's the thing. It comes down to production values. It comes down to standard of television, camera work, everything. And Impact is presented like a carny wrestling product from a tent. That's what it looks like. It looks like No. We used to go WCPW live all the time. God rest that company.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
And that is what Impact looks like. It looks like they're in a warehouse in Manchester with a few cameras trying to make it look professional.
No, I'm going to take exception with this. And this goes against everything I stand for because I'm big on production. I'm big on presentation. However, there are certain people involved in wrestling that a great kind of promoters to the fact that carnival wrestling is the reason we have wrestling. So there's a lot of guys based in the UK that have had decent careers. I'm not going to name names, but will basically defend carnival wrestling. And to use carny as an insult isn't really cool.
I'm not saying it is cool.
You jerk.
Well. That's a very bare bone look. They did surrender. This is true. But the thing that annoys me is TNA, when it first started, looked carny as hell. It then looked good for a long, long time. And now it looks carny as hell again.
Yeah, but how did that work out for them in the end, mate?
No, and now they're carny as hell again. That's my point. But it had nothing to do with the production value. It was the people running the company.
They're not carny. They're being Impact. I like that raw feeling of Impact.
Yeah, but it doesn't look good. And my argument is that was a worse TV show than Monday Night Raw. Raw is a fantastically presented television product. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. It is a good-looking TV show.
But the thing is, if I bring a good-looking turd to you, it's still a turd. I'm not saying that's what Raw is, but I'm just saying, it's no matter.
No, but here's the thing: people may not enjoy what they see on Raw, but it's all presented brilliantly.
So what you're telling me is that if you've got a turd, as long as you present it in the right way, then it's fine.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Raw was that good. Raw was poorly written. Cody's probably the only thing I like on Raw every week. Everything else tends to be meh.
Whoa.
But Impact was worse as a TV show.
No, what I'm trying to say, Nick, because I'm again, this is not against Raw specifically, but all I'm saying is like Impact is what it is, and there's some good stories on there. There is some good wrestling stuff.
No. Here's the thing. I enjoy the wrestling aspect.
Hang on. If you go into a bookstore, right, and would you only pick up the new books that are presented well?
Right,
would
you
you pick
know
up
I used to
the
work
old
in a,
scrammy
you know
book?
I used to work in a bookshop.
Exactly,
And
that's
the
why I
answer
brought
is
it
you
up.
go for the one with the most. Just yes, for like a long time. All right, you know I used to work in there. Shout out to Broadhurst Bookshop in Southport, the oldest bookshop in the north of England. It is fantastic. It is 3 stories high, and it is owned by a man who has more knowledge on reading and writing than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, and just for everyone else, guys, do not buy a book unless it's well presented.
Well, no, those old books are well presented. They've just been sat there for so long because people are scared to touch them because they're so well presented in their leather bindings.
Where you knock J.K. Rowling down the stairs?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jules Holland. But
at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah, that was an interesting day.
If you did not shout "Avada Kedavra" as you knocked it down the stairs, I would be very disappointed.
No, but as punishment, I did because imagine what I look like in round glasses as a young kid, with no beard and baby face. I had to dress up as Harry every year and sign the books for the kids as they bought them.
Yeah. No, that David makes a good point here. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It looks a spectacle. So a lot of spectacle mixed with 2 hours of fillers on Mondays. I find. Do you know what, mate? Sometimes it is. Sometimes I enjoy Raw. I'm not going to think, but I just don't like the fact of Impact looks like a carny, so it can't be good.
No.
Come on.
You're missing my point. I'm not saying Impact can't be good. I enjoy the wrestling, and I don't think the storytelling's half bad.
But what you're saying is when it comes
to being presented as a television product, it is not as well presented as Raw. And realistically, it's the thing is, what I believe Dynamite won TV Show of the Year. Yeah. Well, let's move on to TV Show of the Year then, shall we? Because Dynamite should not have won TV Show of the Year. Dynamite is a very entertaining wrestling product, but Dynamite is not a good, cohesive storytelling device. It hasn't been for quite some time. As Simon mentioned before, he can book backwards, he can book sideways, he can book too far ahead. And then there's Tony Khan's ultimate weakness of being really good at pushing a babyface to a title, and then as soon as they get that title, they drop off a cliff because he doesn't know what to do with them.
I find... Just to add to that a lot of AEW storylines can be narrative, can be assumed story, can be story that's been told elsewhere on the internet or being the elite, but it's not actual story. And I think that limits it a lot in terms of finding new viewers.
Basically, finding the next person to contend for the title is lacking. I feel we go weeks with no contender lately, and the US title feels kind of irrelevant because of it. But that is unfortunate at the moment. I'll just to segue into a little bit of a sidetrack there. I believe, and I'm assuming, the whole reason that there's been no contenders for the US title in Austin Theory since Elimination Chamber is because it's going to be an open challenge at WrestleMania, and we're all going to have to watch Austin Theory wrestle nothing as John Cena probably beats him for the United States Championship.
No.
I want Theory to win as well, but Cena's probably going to win, dude.
I see Theory beating Cena, but I think either way we're getting that match, aren't we?
Yeah.
And that's why you've got no contenders for the US title at the moment, because they're saving it for Cena and an open challenge at Mania. Theory's been dropping all of Cena's catchphrases. He's been doing everything he can to get his attention in a little messagey kind of way. So, but back to the Wrestling Observer Awards. Right, guys, I'm going to leave you an open floor on this one, because there's a lot of awards to get through, and I know you've both got some big pet peeves.
Okay. Can I go first, please?
Go for it.
Okay, so the one most discussed and promotional tactics, WWE Vince McMahon appeared on television for a crowd pop after the sex misconduct. I think, one, it's a cheap pop. Two, if I was Meltzer, I wouldn't have let anybody put that on my thing, because I don't think it's any kind of reason to acknowledge it again. That man should just be ignored, so just ignore him.
Correct.
Also, Forbidden Door was not the best show of the year. It was not at all. I thought even All Out, apart from what happened afterwards, was a better show than that. Royal Rumble Wear Show is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I just don't get who are the people voting on this. And also, where's television announcer Corey Graves when you've got that other idiot on Rampage every week with the mask on?
Excalibur.
Yeah, I don't like to say his name. He's like
I like Excalibur.
He's not that bad.
He reminds me of the guy that used to do the Micro Machines adverts and did the voice of Blur and Transformers.
I will say that Corey Graves is not the worst announcer in wrestling.
No, he's not.
Paul Big Show White is the worst announcer in professional wrestling. Nobody watches Dark Elevation, but if you did, you'd have to suffer him for an hour and a half.
Do you know one thing I want to say though is I really hate that award. I really hate it because I feel like it's an attack on a personal person. I don't mind worst promotion of the year. I don't mind worst TV show. I don't mind worst pay-per-view. But when they do that, like, Corey Graves, I feel a bit mean on him there, and I feel like that's a bit unfair.
It's a good point, Andrew.
I see what you mean.
I saw somebody tweet this yesterday. I can't remember the name to give them a shout out, but they were basically saying, like the Oscars, the Golden Globes, the Emmys, MTV Music Awards, whatever you want to say, they don't really have worse categories anymore.
No,
it's only wrestling that does it, and yet they kind of dwell on the negative ones. Why? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, mate. I was so happy that Bryan Danielson won the award as well for Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, well, his award. It wouldn't be right if anybody else won the Bryan Danielson award. Right? Sorry, what were you saying?
The ones that wind me up looking at this list, okay? So we've got the 2022 most overrated. Female, we've gone for Ronda Rousey, and the male, we've gone for Konsuke Takeshita. Now, guys, is it just me, or does the wrestling world on social media not understand what underrated means? Okay, so if you're an underrated wrestler, this means that the fan base doesn't think as much of you as they should. Opposite if you're overrated. Okay, so many people confuse underrated with underutilized, or they get it the wrong way around. Okay, so to give Takeshita the most underrated when literally 99% of the IWC thinks he's great makes no sense. To give Ronda Rousey overrated when 99% of the IWC think about her negatively these days makes no sense. People need to understand what they're voting for. And if this sums up the mentality of the amount of these voters, then I'm with Andy up here. Who is voting for these awards?
Yeah. Can I just say as well, by the way, I haven't got a filter on Dale. There's no filter. This is all Andy, this lad. All Andy.
Hey, Andy, look, we already established back at our old home, Andy is the prettiest member of the team. You are jealous, Dale, right? That is all it is. Right? You have more grey hair on your face than I have on my entire head. And you're just jealous. But to give a bit of a rant on these awards, Meltzer's a tool. This is my common opinion on Dave. I've just about had enough of him. I'm sick of his 5-star ratings. Just because you've been writing about wrestling for 35 years doesn't mean you know about the modern product. He jumps on every single bandwagon, and then as soon as something happens that he doesn't like, he throws his toys out the pram and writes a nasty article about that said company. Dave Meltzer's opinion, in my opinion, means absolutely nothing in the world of professional wrestling and shouldn't mean anything in the world of professional wrestling. These awards are a joke. There's about 6 of them that I agree with. Mexico MVP, El Hijo del Vikingo, completely agree with that. Absolutely fine with that comment. I think
Paul Heyman, best non-wrestler. That makes sense.
That makes sense. I believe.
Will Ospreay European via MVP?
Yeah, that's right.
Bron
Breakker, Rookie of the Year.
No, right. No. Right. Bron Breakker has no timing. Bron Breakker has no timing. Bron Breakker cannot wrestle. Bron Breakker is nothing but a poor impersonation of his real dad, Scott Steiner.
Well, let's not forget, Nick. He didn't want to be called the same. He didn't want to be called Steiner because he wanted to make his own thing, but he barks every week.
But he barks like his dad every week and then cuts promos like his uncle. Next, he'll be doing Steiner math. The guy is absolutely terrible. When you've got, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Simon, Dominic Mysterio and Hook sat there in the respective companies, and neither of them get Rookie of the Year. When Hook has proven that if you give him Taz matches, he'll put out a banger.
110%. Heads and shoulders, mate.
Nathan Frazier,
heads and shoulders.
Logan Paul. There's so many guys. Bron Breakker.
Logan Paul's another good one, yeah. That's another good one.
I hate to admit it, but Logan Paul is absurdly talented in that ring. He is taken to wrestling like a fish to water, has had 2 absolute banger matches. Maybe he wasn't considered because he hasn't had enough matches, but still, the ones he's had have been against either Roman Reigns, for God's sake. It's a pretty big match.
Dale's here talking about announcers. Excalibur works better with Taz. He's less markish, but he's still an absolute douchebag that tries to put himself over every time he's out there. Do you guys know who actually won Best Announcer? Kevin Kelly. Now,
good, yeah.
Now,
I'm fine. No, I am not a big fan of Kevin Kelly, Simon. I never have
that's
been.
That's impossible.
Right? But when it comes to New Japan, he knows his stuff.
He does, but he's irritating to listen to. Okay?
Oh, see, I like him.
I don't think he's that bad.
Oh.
I liked also, he pairs well with the really posh English kid that they have on New Japan that does the translation.
Yeah.
Like
there's one thing I can say, though, is if this year carries on the way it is, my pick for next year would be Cole. Michael Cole.
Cole has been revitalized this year.
100%. But again, I feel like it's not, he didn't do the full year enough to be able to win that award this year.
Yeah. Now that the filter's off, Cole's got a chance to really shine again. All right, but we're going to move on, guys. We're going to move on because we're running fast out of time. And we have a couple of other things that we need to talk about. And we're going to go on to my favorite subject of the week, Cody Rhodes. Now, in my opinion, Cody Rhodes has already proven the audience wrong. A lot of people thought he would get booed out of the building on Monday night and just get buried in Sammy chants, and it didn't happen, even though WWE thought it would so much that they very, very quickly sent Paul Heyman out there very quickly to move things along. But I have an opinion on this. It is not 2015.
Nope.
The guys that were chanting CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, and let's Cena sucks every single week. They migrated. They're not They're gone. They're not in the WWE audience anymore. They're watching AEW. They all left to the alternative. So everybody that thought that the whole crowd was going to turn on Cody just because Sammy lost and Cody was going for the championship at WrestleMania, you were all wrong. All right, my little bit over. What do you guys think about this? Do you think they pushed Paul out there as a panic move, or do you think there was an intention in this all along?
I think maybe part of it was dipping their toe in the water to kind of gauge the reaction, but they've been aware that it could have been a problem. Thankfully, it wasn't. It did feel a little rushed the way Paul came out so quickly. But fair play to him for selling the neck brace and not shaving for a couple of days and looking like crap for it. But yeah, I think they've been very coy, very clever, the way they've kind of kept Cody's popularity watertight. It's under control, it's going the right way, and there's no hijacking allowed.
I like that. One thing I will say is, though, is at present, I want to see Roman retain at WrestleMania. I really do. I don't think, for me personally, they haven't made, just because the big annoyance for me is Cody Rhodes is there because he's Cody Rhodes. What's he had to go through to get there? Why is he going after Roman? I don't think we've heard enough of it about why, and it's doing my head in a little bit.
It's called winning the Royal Rumble, mate.
And we did hear it.
No, yeah, but you know what I mean, don't you? It's just kind of like
we did hear it. Yeah. We heard it when he came back in the first place.
Who cares?
When he first announced where he was going. But
I don't care about that now. That's gone too far. Where you've got me so invested in the Sammy storyline that I don't care about that now. The problem we've got is there's something here that makes more sense than somebody else to go after. The only thing I would like to see is, and hear me out on this one, I would love to see Roman retain against Cody, Sammy win Money in the Bank, and just terrorize Roman for about 5 months. Just absolutely terrorize him. And obviously we know that this character's got this paranoid persona and all like that. Sammy running around with that Money in the Bank's just going to drive him crazy.
Can I make a point on this now? Right. When we saw Sammy against Roman, it reminded me of something, and I didn't realize until the time. It was very much like when we saw Mick Foley go after The Rock. Now, you've got to remember that Mick Foley had 3 or 4 world title shots before that against guys like HBK. Never won until he got The Rock. So there's still plenty of time for Sammy to have another couple of shots and do exactly what you're saying, Andy. Whether it's Money in the Bank or not, I don't know. But I think come the end of the year, Sammy is going to be a top guy.
Look, I said to you guys all along that Sammy will get his world title at SummerSlam. Right? Sammy will get his world title at SummerSlam. Cody may not. I am at the opinion where Andy may be correct about WrestleMania. Oh,
he gets it. He gets it. Tardy gets it. Tardy gets it.
No, but here's the thing. Why is everybody making this a problem? You've got 2 baby faces that everybody cares about, and you've got 2 championships. All you've got to do is split them. That's all they've got to do. Have Cody win.
But it's how you get there, mate.
Yeah, so you have Cody win, and then he splits them. And
but how does he split them?
He just splits them because he wants to. He cuts a promo about how the WWE Championship is the only championship that matters. The Universal Championship doesn't matter. I don't need this. This should go on to somebody else, someone more deserving, somebody who cares about this championship. All I care about is this.
Yeah. See, I think they missed the trick with the Money in the Bank because that was the perfect way to split them.
I agree. It should have been for one contract. And hey, back.
Hey guys.
Technology.
So yeah, my laptop died. Sorry, I'm kind of scrambling on my phone here.
Just plug it in.
I haven't got the wire or anything in this room. So.
Well, it doesn't matter. You sound absolutely fine. So it's fine.
All right,
cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's here we go. Yeah. Oh, where's Nick gone? What's Nick just done?
No.
he's just been wiggling his wire and he's done something to himself. That's what he gets for being a smart ass.
That's karma.
But yeah, no, Tardy gets it. It's like what we were talking about. It's probably emotionally until I love Cody, Nick. It's a little round because Sammy just got out on hold is the problem.
That's exactly where he is. He's on hold. Yeah.
Split the belt sooner would be get my investment back. Same, yeah. I'd love to see like them. You know, they could even turn around and what I mean by that is say they split the belts, yeah, and they said, okay, well, Cody Rhodes is going to challenge whoever it is night 1 for the title, or and then it's going to be Sammy versus Roman night 2. I'd be 100% behind Cody. The problem is at the moment is, and it really annoys me because I really love Cody Rhodes. I really love him, but at the moment, I just see him as a blocker. I just see him as a blocker in the way of what we actually want to see. And I feel so sorry for him at the same time because he got injured and they took him away. And because of that, the Bloodline story was the big major deal.
Let me ask you this. So we've got, 5 weeks, I think, left on Mania, maybe a little less. What would it take to see on TV between now and then to get you invested and to get you behind Cody Rhodes?
Add Sammy to it.
There's nothing Cody can do to actually win you over and get you behind him.
I don't think it's all down to Cody. I think it's to do with them as well. That's what you get for being a smart ass.
I don't know what happened. My camera just turned off. No. I was fiddling with my headphone cable and the camera just turned off.
Because the vibrations knocked it off for you being a smart ass, wiggling your wires.
Well, I can't help being right all the time. I was just born that way.
Well, what we were saying here is like just about the fact.
I heard you say that you love Cody Rhodes, and I just would like to hear you repeat this.
No, I love Cody, mate. I do you know what I do, and I actually feel sorry for him because I feel like because of organically what's happened, it's taken his moment away from him through no fault of his own.
Is we have 4 weeks, just over 4 weeks till WrestleMania. 4 weeks is enough time to fix this story. There is more than enough time to add Sami to the match. At this point, a triple threat is the only way it works, and you already know how to end the match. They both pin Roman. They both pin Roman. They get a title each. Sami becomes the SmackDown champion. Cody becomes WWE champion over on Raw. Everybody's happy.
I tell you what you could do then. I tell you what. Do you know the only way I'd be happy with that is if it was the triple threat on night 1, and then after that they announced that the two of them are going to defend the titles night 2.
That would be awesome.
I'd take that.
That would be awesome.
I get a lot of people are behind that movement, but I just don't see the need or the want for splitting the belts. It doesn't make sense to me. One title means a lot more than two do.
It does.
Can I ask you this? Out of interest, when you guys first started like getting back into modern WWE, was there 1 or 2 champions when you first started getting into it?
2.
1.
Okay. Nick, you're the exception that proves the rule. I find that most people that are like putting across a case for 2 belts, it's because there were 2 champions when they got into wrestling.
No.
I think the problem we've had here, sorry to cut you off, Nick, right, is because the bloodline has been so good, but Roman's only defending now and again and stuff like that, is I feel like having Roman as the undisputed champion has really hindered us. We're not having 2 belts because one, you know, it makes the other show when he doesn't appear not feel great. But on top of that, I think like the B pay-per-views not having a champion on them. And then also like when you see the certain matches, you know, Roman's not going to lose. So it's like, okay, well, you know, we're just going to get a Roman win here. So having another title on there that you could potentially have moved around a little bit during that time would have been better for me.
Okay. All right. Well, we are fast running out of time, guys.
Yeah. Just one more thing as well. Dale is right there, by the way. You know, if Cody would have won it from like 4th or something, then we might have been a bit of trial and tribulation of how he got
I agree with that, but
Yes.
there was also a reason for it with his injury and everything.
No. I get why Cody's putting in number 30. They wanted to make sure, but why not give him at least the magic number 27? More people have won the Rumble from 27 than any other number. People would have been absolutely fine with it. He'd have had to fight through at least a few more guys.
I think the reason for that was to protect the crowd from booing a surprise. Because if number 30 had been anybody else, if Cody was already in the ring and then number 30 was somebody else apart from The Rock, he would have been booed. So the fact that we got number 29 and then we knew number 30 was going to be Cody, that protected the fans from sabotaging the event.
Yeah. Also, just to make a little pitch here, and hear me out before you say anything, is we could always Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Yokozuna it with Sami. WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
Where Hogan come out and Bret was on the floor. And it was like, Hogan, Roman
you're my best friend, Hulk. Oh, win the belt for me. You know what? If Cody goes down and then that comes out with Sami, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. How about the end of the Roman Reigns title match? Roman retains, but he's got salt thrown in his eyes, and then Hogan himself comes out. Leg drop, 1, 2, 3.
I mean, do you know what? Well, in all seriousness, one thing is you could do that if Roman retains against Cody, and then he turns around and goes, "Where's that little twerp scene? Get him out of here!" And then, do you know what I mean? You could do something along them lines, which I don't think they're going to do. But the one thing that you have got in your locker there is if anything happens to Cody and he gets injured or anything, it's a really good place to be in that you've got that back up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But on to our last topic of the day, boys. Turns out Brock Lesnar is going to have a match at WrestleMania. It turns out it's not going to be against who we wanted him to have a bout, because apparently Gunther versus Brock was never on the cards. So we're getting Brock versus Omos. Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
It's going to be a
No.
spectacle.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
So let me ask you guys this, okay? It's a spectacle. It's
Agreed.
one of the all-time greats against a big guy, okay? What do you guys think is going to happen? Do you use this opportunity to give Lesnar a really powerful kind of visual win? Or do you use it, despite the fact that you might not rate him, to shoot Omos to the moon and then potentially use him as the first challenger for Cody?
No, God, no. And they go on.
I just feel like Brock's going to throw him everywhere. We're going to see a big F5s. We're going to see him manhandle him. You know, awesome. But I also think Bobby Lashley will get involved somewhere with the hair business.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned Hulk Hogan.
Me?
Yep. You mentioned Hogan before.
Okay.
Now, we've all seen WrestleMania 3.
Ricky Steamboat, Randy Savage, one of the best matches ever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get Hogan Andre with these two, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the same match, just Brock's version, and it'll build to Omos screwing up and then him hitting him with an F5 because that man messed up a scoop slam the other week. And we all know Brock can pick up huge men. He used to F5 the Big Show like he was a saxophone.
Yeah. And he can also control them when he starts getting out of order, and Brock will just punch him in the head and so he calms down.
I'm not sure that Omos can just jump straight onto Brock's shoulders like Kofi did.
Well, this is a good point. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we are out of time for the day. Technical issues and panic aside, we got through it, guys. It was a good one. Thank you very much for both being here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy what we do here at Wrestling Legion, please join the Legion. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, hit the like button. It helps us out. It really, really does. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. And, well, it's what we do. I love you all. I've been Nick the Geek. That's been Andy. He's been Si. We make it make sense. See you next week.
Legion.